Oh, still experiencing some very cold nights here. Finally got an answer I think is accurate that it's colder than usual here. So still a lot of issues with my motorhome, and unfortunately the job I'm in now is a typical scam, and it's sad because it caters to the vulnerable sector, and they're very confused there with the difference between what privacy is and what impunity is. I think they're kind of mixing those two things up, and I can tell you one thing: that without breaching privacy is when people are in certain positions in this job, is they hardly show up for work. And everybody's okay with that because they all do it too. And when people actually are physically there and show up, they're still not there. So that's that's the biggest red flag. There is you. Well, they're definitely not there as who they claim to be. But even if they do their best, it's still they're like phoning it in by being physically present. But it's not just this place. I mean, look, recently I've posted some screenshots on my Facebook that shows me communicating very important things to politicians. And politicians that aren't necessarily in the party of liberals, where I'm saying, hey, I'm worried about this online stuff, like with Google or with Microsoft hurting Canadians, and it's happening to me. And 2 out of 3 I got the automatic replies. The third one I didn't. But I still never hear back from anybody. I mean, I get automatic replies, and they often want to say in their replies that if you are a constituent from my area, even though this minister has been, this, MP has been assigned a particular task, which you don't need to be in his constituency, if that's the right way to say it, to actually respond on this topic that he's working on as a file that he's in the news about. You can tell how fake it is, right? Not showing up for work, not putting the money to have staff to monitor emails. And again, if I was an MP, I wouldn't even say it. But for the entire 4 years, I'd pay myself minimum wage as a form of respect for Canadians, while putting the rest of the money into staff that would, act like public servants. And if they didn't, they'd be fired, because I'd be at least monitoring that a lot with the limited time that I'd have in my functions, that my staff would be really caring and showing up for work, and not just physically. But also, I mean, the other emails I'm not getting responses for are, let's say, complaints to the legal system failing by the departments that deal with this, because I didn't do the forms the right way, that you don't even get a reply. Like, I will do the forms the right way, but it's already a red flag that you don't get any interest in anybody doing their job. And that includes, ombudsmans of BC and BC human rights tribunals. And I say, I'm going to test to see if you really exist or not. I might be wrong, you might exist, and you still don't get replies. And it comes to the point where I think I trigger the conscience of people, and it makes them uncomfortable. They don't want a conscience. So you get less and less of these replies of people that are still in roles that get paid to be some form of culture repair in some way, human rights or justice or advocacy for those or those. And really, I'm just living in the Anthropocene with a bunch of people, primates, who are so good at fooling themselves that they barely put effort at fooling others, and they barely notice that an Homo sapien is among them who's not fooled. Because, everybody's just quite happy to be living as little fake images of themselves, and nobody challenges that. And it's not just the common folks in a rural area, it's the highest level of government's officials. And I'm not saying it's just Canada, it's a problem all over the world, that people, primates, can no longer access the higher functions of their brain, where sentience and sapience really resides.